Hey guys, we're back for chapter 5 of the best Christmas pageant ever. There may be barking dogs in the background, just ignore them. When we got home, my father wanted to hear all about it. Well, Mother said, just suppose that you had never heard the Christmas story and didn't know anything about it, and then someone told it to you. What would you think? My father looked at her for a minute or two, and then he said, well, I guess I would think it was pretty disgraceful that they couldn't find any room for a pregnant woman except in a barn. It was amazing to me. It didn't seem natural for my father to be on the same side as the Herdmans. But then it didn't seem natural for the Herdmans to be on the right side of a thing. It would have made more sense for them to be on Herod's side. Exactly, Mother said. It was pretty disgraceful, and I never really thought about it much. You hear all about the nice warm stable and the animals breathing and the sweet-smelling hay. That doesn't change the fact that they put this girl in a barn. Now let me tell you. She told my father all about the rehearsal, and when she was through, she said, it's clear to me that deep down those kids have some good instincts. My father said that he couldn't exactly agree. According to you, he said, their chief instinct was to burn Herod alive. No, their chief instinct was to get Mary and the baby out of the barn, but even so, it was Herod they wanted to do away with, not Mary or Joseph. They picked the right villain. That must mean something. Maybe so. My father looked up from his newspaper. What happened to Herod anyway? None of us knew. I had never thought much about Herod. He was just somebody from the Bible, Herod the king. But the Herdmans went and looked him up. The very next day, Imogene grabbed me at recess. How do you get a book out of the library, she said. You have to have a card. How do you get a card? You have to sign your name. She looked at me for a minute. Do you have to sign your own name? I thought Imogene probably wanted to get one of the dirty books out of the basement, which is where they keep them. But I knew that nobody would let her do that because there's a big chain across the stairs, and Mrs. Gravener, the librarian, can hear it rattle no matter where she is in the library. Sure, you have to sign your own name, I said. They have to know who has the books. Well, I didn't see what difference it made, whether she signed the card with her own name or with Queen Elizabeth. I guess she couldn't stop them from using the library, though, because that was where they found out about Herod. They went in that afternoon, all 6 of them, and told Mrs. Gravener that they wanted library cards. Now, usually when anybody told Mrs. Gravener they wanted a library card, she got this big happy smile on her face and said, good, we want all our boys and girls to have library cards. But she didn't say that with the Herdmans. She just asked them why they wanted library cards. We want to read about Jesus, Imogene said. Not Jesus, Ralph said. That king who was trying to get rid of him, Herod. Later on, Mrs. Gravener told my mother that she had been a librarian for 38 years, and she loved every minute of it because every day brought something new. But now, she said, I might as well retire. When Imogene Herdman came in and said that she wanted to learn about Jesus, I knew I had heard everything there was to hear. At the next rehearsal, Mother started again to separate everyone into angels and shepherds and guests at the end, but she didn't get very far. The Herdmans wanted to rewrite the whole pageant and hang Herod for the finish. They couldn't stand it that he died in bed of old age. It wasn't just Jesus he was after, Ralph told us. He killed all kinds of people. He even killed his own wife, Leroy said, and nothing happened to him. Well, he died, didn't he? Somebody said. Maybe he died a horrible death. What did he die of? Ralph shrugged. Didn't say. Maybe the flu. They were so mad about it that I thought they might quit the pageant, but they didn't. Not then, or ever. And all the people who kept hoping that the Herdmans would get bored and leave were out of luck. They showed up at the rehearsals right on time, and they did what they were supposed to. But they were still the Herdmans. And there was at least one person who didn't forget it for a minute. One day I saw Alice Wendelkin writing something down on a little piece of paper and trying to hide it with her other hand. It's none of your business, she said. It wasn't any of my business, but it wasn't any of Alice's either. What she was writing was, Gladys Herdman drinks communion wine. It's not wine, I said, it's grape juice. I don't care what it is, she drinks it. I've seen her 3 times with her mouth all purple. They steal the crayons from the Sunday school cupboards, too. And if you shake the happy birthday bank in the kindergarten room, it doesn't make a sound. They've stolen all the pennies out of it. I looked at Alice, amazed. I would never think to go shake the happy birthday bank. And every time that you go in the girls' room, she said, the whole air is blue, because Imogene Herdman is sitting in there in her Mary costume smoking a cigar. Alice wrote all these things down, and how many times each one of them happened. I don't know why, unless it made her good to feel in black and white just how awful the Herdmans were. Still, none of the Herdmans had ever gone to church or Sunday school before, or read a Bible or anything. They didn't know how things were supposed to be. Imogene, for instance, didn't know that Mary was supposed to be acted in a certain way, sort of dreamy and quiet and out of this world. The way Imogene did it, Mary was more like Mrs. Santoro at the pizza parlor. Mrs. Santoro is a fat lady with a skinny husband and 9 kids, and she yells and hollers and hugs her kids and smacks them around, and that's the way Imogene's Mary was, loud and bossy. "Get away from the baby," she yelled. The wise men want to honor the Christ child, Mother explained for the 10th time. They don't mean to harm him. But the wise men didn't know how things were supposed to be either, and nobody blamed Imogene for shoving them out of the way. You got the feeling that these wise men were going to hustle back to Herod as fast as they could and squeal on the baby out of pure meanness. They thought about it, too. What if we didn't go home another way? Leroy demanded. What if we went back to the king and told him the baby, where he was and all? He would murder Jesus, Ralph said. Old Herod would murder him. He would not. That was Imogene, with fire in her eyes. And since the Herdmans fought one another just as fast as they fought anyone else, Mother had to step in and settle them down. I thought about it, though, later on, and I decided that if Herod the king set out to murder Jesus, a carpenter's baby son, he would surely find a way to do it. So when Leroy said, "What if we went back and told on the baby?" it gave you something to think about. No Jesus, ever. I don't know whether anybody else got this flash. Alice Wendelkin, for one, didn't. "I don't think it's very nice to talk about baby Jesus being murdered," she said, stitching her lips together and looking sour. There was one more thing for her to write down on her pad of paper, and one more thing for her to tell her mother about the Herdmans, besides the fact that they swore and smoked and stole crayons. I think she kept hoping that they would do one great big sinful thing and her mother would finally say, "Well, that's it," and get on the telephone and have them all thrown out. "Be sure to tell your mother that I can step right in and be Mary if I have to," she said. "And if I'm Mary, we can get the Perkins baby for Jesus." But Mrs. Perkins won't let Imogene Herdman get her hands on him. Well, the Perkins baby would have made a terrific Jesus, and Alice knew it. The way things stood, we didn't have any baby at all. And this really bothered my mother because you couldn't very well have the best Christmas pageant in history with the chief character missing. We had lots of babies offered in the beginning, all the way from Eugene Sloper, who was so new he was still red, right up to Junior Caudill, who was almost 4. His mother said he could scrunch up. But when all the mothers found out about the Herdmans, they withdrew their babies. Mother had called everybody she knew trying to scratch up a baby. The closest she came was Bernice Watrous, who kept foster babies. "I've got a darling little boy right now," Bernice told Mother. "He's 3 months old, and he's so good I scarcely know he's in the house. He'd be wonderful. Of course he's Chinese, is that all right?" "That doesn't matter at all," Mother said. But Bernice's baby got adopted 2 weeks before Christmas, and Bernice said she didn't want to ask to borrow him back. So that was that. "Listen," Imogene said, "I'll get us a baby." "How would you do that?" Mother asked. "It's easy," Imogene said. "There's always 2 or 3 babies in carriages outside the A&P supermarket." "Imogene, don't be ridiculous," Mother said. "You can't just walk off with somebody's baby. You know that." Actually, I doubt if Imogene did know that. She walked off with whatever else she wanted. "We just won't worry any more about a baby," Mother said. "We'll use a baby doll. That'll be better anyway." Imogene looked pleased. "A doll can't bite you," she pointed out, which just went to prove the Herdmans started out mean right from the cradle. And that is Chapter 5. See you tomorrow.